In the last few videos you have tried to explain to me why you believe that God has always used some sort of organization. I can see your reasonings, but I'm not convinced.
That is quite okay. As I have said before, I am not trying to convince you. What I want is to present current, accurate information as to what we understand, and why we have come to the conclusions that we have. As I tried to explain, all through history God has used some form of organized group, so does it not stand to reason that he is still using some form of organized group today?
There is a big difference in time between when Jesus walked the earth, when the first people became Christians, and today. The history of the church is well documented as it spread and grew. I have seen various estimates on the number of groups that call themselves Christians. It seems that there is somewhere between 30 and 40,000 different groups. So, you are saying that of all these groups, God is using only one lot of people today?
It is true that there are many different groups, and that they all believe in Jesus. It is also true that there is a great deal of inconsistency between these groups as to what the Bible teaches. I am sure you are aware of many of the differences. Some groups will teach that all one has to do is believe in Jesus to be saved. Other groups have different ideas as to what the Bible teaches about salvation. Some claim we get saved by works. We say that salvation is an undeserved gift from God, and that it is our faith in the ransom that motivates us to works that is important for salvation. There are different ideas about the nature of God. Some believe in the Trinity, that is, the belief that there are three different individuals that are co-equal, eternal, and all acting together as one God. Others believe in Sabalism, that is, that God exists in three forms, or modes. There are also a few, like ourselves, that believe that God is superior to Jesus and that Jesus was created. That is why it is important that if we want to be called a Christian, we need to look to see if we are actually doing what the name Christian means. That is, a footstep follower of Christ. I will be discussing those topics in later videos.
Yes, I understand that there are many different beliefs. So, what is it that makes you so sure that Jehovah's Witnesses are the only ones that are approved by God? Surely there are other groups that teach similar to yourselves. Why can't these also be approved by God?
That's a good question. Yes, there are groups that have similar beliefs, but I do not know of any group that has all the same basic teachings that we do. Even when Jesus was here, there were individuals that were doing a similar ministry to Jesus in performing many different types of miracles. I will show the account at Matthew chapter 7 verses 21 to 23 from the NIV Bible.
Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. Many will say to me on the day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and in your name drive out demons, and in your name perform many miracles? Then I will tell them plainly, I never knew you. Away from me, you evildoers.
Even when Jesus was alive, there were ones that we would call counterfeit Christians, or counterfeit followers of Jesus. The differences between Jehovah's Witnesses and any other group with similar beliefs need to be looked at on an individual case. In the meantime, let's look at some of the biblical reason why we are so sure that only Jehovah's Witnesses are approved by God. There are many points that I want to share with you. We understand that there are several Bible prophecies that support the understanding that there would be only one group of people that God would approve of, and that these have been fulfilled in relation to Jehovah's Witnesses. These are not in any order of priority. The Apostle Paul wrote in the 1st century as recorded in Acts 20 verses 29 to 30.
I know that after my departure fierce wolves will come in among you, not sparing the flock. And from among your own selves will arise men speaking twisted things, to draw away the disciples after them.
Paul gives a similar warning to the Thessalonians.
Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition.
As this interlinear shows, the Greek text uses a word here, that is translated as apostasy. Other Bible verses that also show this would be the case are.
However, the inspired word clearly says that in later times some will fall away from the faith, paying attention to misleading inspired statements and teachings of demons. For there will be a period of time when they will not put up with the wholesome teaching, but according to their own desires, they will surround themselves with teachers to have their ears tickled.
The apostles Peter and John also advised that the apostasy would start from among the Christians.
However, there also came to be false prophets among the people, as there will also be false teachers among you. These will quietly bring in destructive sects, and they will even disown the owner who bought them, bringing speedy destruction upon themselves. Young children, it is the last hour, and just as you have heard that the Antichrist is coming, even now many Antichrists have appeared, from which fact we know that it is the last hour. They went out from us, but they were not of our sort, for if they had been of our sort, they would have remained with us. But they went out so that it might be shown that not all are of our sort.
I have read about and heard of that sort of thing before. People claiming that the church would disappear because of apostasy. However, that seems to go against the promise that Jesus gave, that his church would never be overcome or conquered. Did not Jesus say that no persecution would prevail against his church, and that his church will stand amidst the flames of persecution, that is, the fury of the gates of hell? I believe that is in Matthew 16 verse 18.
I will answer that by looking at a parable that Jesus gave, showing that there would be a long period of time when true Christianity would be indiscernible from apostate Christianity. You might know this as the wheat and the tares. This can be found at Matthew 13 verses 24 to 30. A short summary of this is: a farmer sends out sowers to sow fine seed. An enemy comes along and oversows the field with a weed. This weed was possibly something known in some regions as bearded darnel. The wheat and the weeds are allowed to grow together until the harvest season. Why would that be so? Wikipedia tells us.
Darnel usually grows in the same production zones as wheat and is considered a weed. The similarity between these two plants is so great that in some regions, darnel is referred to as false wheat. It bears a close resemblance to wheat until the ear appears. Darnel can be infected by an antiphytic fungus, which expresses the drunken nausea from eating the infected plant, which can be fatal.
The farmer did not want the weeds pulled up until the harvest, so that a clear distinction could be made, and no wheat would be accidentally pulled up and thrown out with the weeds.
When is the harvest supposed to be?
The harvest is at the conclusion of the age, or system of things, also known as the last days, which Bible prophecy indicates that is the time we are now living in. Besides what is recorded in the New Testament, there are prophecies from the Old Testament, including some from the book of Daniel, that refer to our time. I will discuss some of these in separate videos. If you want to get more information on what is understood by Jehovah's Witnesses as to why we understand the parable of the wheat and the weeds as we do, as well as other sayings by Jesus concerning our time, go to the following website. I have the link in the description box below. As you can see, this series of articles will give you a reasonably good idea into what we understand about this time of the end. These articles still do not give all the relevant details. You must understand that they are written for Jehovah's Witnesses, and not for the general public. We already have some prior knowledge of how the subjects have developed. If we do not remember any of the background details, then we are in a position to find the information. I mention that because there are video presentations on the internet that sound very authoritative, as they actually quote some small portions of these very articles, but, because the authors do not have all the relevant details, they fail to put what they have quoted into the proper context, or, they are missing vital information that the article does not cover, but, we would be aware of. As a result, what has been produced is misinformation due to them not having all the facts. Before I go into more detail on any of those subjects, my next video will take a brief look at if there is any scriptural precedent in the idea that people used by God could have a change in understanding, and yet still be accepted by God. I am putting this video at this time because it is charged against us that we cannot be God's chosen people because of clarifications, or changes, in some of our understandings. There have been some clarifications in what we understand about prophecies that we see as having a direct bearing on Jehovah's Witnesses. By seeing that the first century Christians made changes while they had inspired men among them, then, it is easier to understand that men in modern times, who are not inspired, will make mistakes and need to clarify understandings.